In this video, I'm going to show you how to work the atzolati stitch technique. This is a stitch technique on even weave fabric that is similar to cross stitch and also has a similarity to satin stitch. It's kind of like a combination of the two, and it is worked in stitches of varying lengths in between the threads of even weave fabric. So let's jump in. I am working with my little chevrons design that creates this cute little table runner with the fringed edge for the atzolati technique. Now, the first thing to mention is that atzolati charting is actually over one thread. So any square that you see on the chart is equal to one thread of the design. And in fact, actually the stitches are worked between the threads. So if I get a little closer to this chart, you can see here, you can see that this very closely resembles the actual woven fabric. So we're going to start right down here at this part of the chart. I'm not going to work these horizontal stitches. I'll come back and work those later. We're going to start working right here with this first row of vertical stitches. So to do that, I have my even weave fabric, and I have my cross stitch needle, a size 24 tapestry needle, threaded up with 3 strands of DMC floss. Now, because the atzolati technique takes 3 strands of DMC instead of 2, you can't use the loop start method. So for atzolati, I just use a regular tail start method, which means I'm going to pull up my first stitch and I'm going to hold about an inch of the fabric on the back, or inch of the floss on the back, and hold that in place and let the next stitches that I make cover it. So to begin with, on this design, I can see that I need to work over 4 threads. So I'm going to get up close here so you can see that, and I'm going to work over 1 thread, 2, 3, and 4. And I'm going to put my needle down there at 4, like that. Okay, now the next thread, I'm going to come up, because this is just a whole row of these over 4 thread stitches all the way across. So I will just continue to keep working that, and I'm going to make sure that I've caught that little bit of tail of my floss in the back. So now I'll just keep working like this across. And you can see here, there is only 1 thread of fabric between the stitches. And I'll keep going across like this, trying to catch in my tail as I work. And I'll keep doing that across the row until I have a nice row of stitches. And in the next step, I'll move on to the next row of stitches. When I'm ready to end off a section of floss, I just turn the embroidery over and I sink my floss through the row of stitches, the satin stitches that I've created on the back. One of the things that's really nice about atzolati is it makes a very tidy back. And I'm going to trim this, and then I'll move on to the next row. I'm ready to move on to the next row. And so if I look at my chart, I can see I've started this row of stitches here, like that, and I've worked some of those across. And now I'm getting ready to do the green. And I can see as I look on the chart here and I count that that first green stitch is going to be over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 threads. So I'm going to start with that right here. Oops. Holding that tail at the back. And I'm going to count up 6 threads. 1, 2, 3, 5, and 6. There we go. Trying to keep that steady. And that's my first stitch in. Now, the next stitch, I'm creating a diamond shape, or a little row of diamond shaped, almost like sawtooth edging. And I know that the next one is over 5 threads. So I know that I just have to come down 1 thread below that 6th thread that I just started. And then the next one after that is 1 thread shorter, so it will be the 4 over 4 threads here. So you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, okay, like that. Great. And then the narrowest point of the diamond is going to be over 3 threads. Is that right? Yep, over 3 threads. So then I'll go down here like this. Okay, now I'll just keep working that in the ascending order now. So I've worked over 3 threads, so now I'm going to work over 4, and then I'm going to work over 5, and then I'll work over 6, and you can see that little sawtooth edging start to appear, that little shape. And now I look at this, okay, I'm in the same row as my tallest stitch there. So now I'm going to start and go down again. Oh, actually, when I look at my pattern, I realize this actually goes over 7 threads for the top of it. So there we go. Now we're over 7 threads. Now we're going to work over 6, and then we're going to work over 5, like that, and then we're going to work over 4, and then over 3. And we've created that diamond shape, and we're going to just keep working that across the row. So from this point, I will just keep working across the row, 4, 5, 6, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, and keep going that way across the row, just like it shows on the chart. I've finished my row of green, or worked as far as my floss will allow me, and now I'm ready to work the next row of the red right here that meets the green. So this is where there's some real magic with the atzolati, because once you've got that first row set, it's actually quite simple to work the next row, because you're going to have a straight line across the top. I've counted up the 4 threads that are shown in the pattern, but from here I'm coming out in the same, I will be coming out in the same horizontal row the whole way across, and I will just be going into the same hole that is left by the previous green stitch, like this. And so there's not really any counting. So typically on these patterns that involve sort of 2 halves, like 2 diamonds like this, or a little kind of sawtooth edging, these actually one row you'll count, but then the other one you're just going to actually stitch right back into the previous row. So they have a really nice meditative quality. The other thing that really surprised me about the atzolati technique when I learned it was how fast it works up. I think I did the little chevrons design in about 5 evenings of stitching. So it creates a very impressive effect, but because it's these long stitches with 3 strands of floss, it does work very quickly. And so this is the atzolati technique. This is how you're going to just continue going across, counting these threads and watching the pattern to see the next band of the design that you'll work. And so you can see as I continue working this across, it creates this really beautiful texture here where the 2 thread colors meet, like that. And you can see that actually definitely in more detail on the finished piece. And so it has this wonderful texture here created by the stitches the one color, the green and the red, both going into the same hole. And then in some atzolati, some sections are left blank, but most atzolati pieces are pretty much full coverage. And they oftentimes are done like in this table runner format, where there are two large bands on either end of a table runner that's finished with fringes. This is sort of how I've traditionally seen this in Greece. So that's the atzolati technique. Happy stitching!